So hello guys, how's it doing? So today we are gonna keep working in our lab, and I will focus, as I said on my post on LinkedIn, that we'll focus on firepower today. Most of the information that I want to pass to you, it's related to FMC, some best practice, some things that you can do after your installation. So let's go on. I'm gonna open this my management machine, which is this one, and I will start to show you some of the things that I want to show to you guys. So I will try to do videos of at maximum of 20 minutes, but let's see it. Sometimes I get excited to be speaking about FMC and firepower, or Cisco Secure Fire right now, and Cisco Secure Fire Management, which is the new names of the old firepower, and I'm trying to follow up what Cisco says. So basically what I'm gonna show to you is the basic configuration that we can do previous start to working directly with ACP, with NET. I know that I already did that. So I already configured the ACP, I already configured the NET, but let me try to show to you guys some tricks or some best practices that I already implemented on FMC. And if you have some time, I will try to show to you guys more things related to FTD and so on. Maybe if you have enough time today, I will try to make the high availability today as well. But I think most of the time I will focus on FMC and some of the things that we have right now, like a health policy, the pre-configurations, for example, to send an email when we have a trigger IPS, when we trigger something like when you change some things, like when you change an ACP, when someone goes and change the routing. So we have this kind of alerts on FMC. And if you have time to read a lot of emails or go to your SNMP server or syslog server to take a look at it, or if you have a dedicated team under your company that is able to keep you looking through all these logs, because there is a lot of information that FMC can provide. But let's go through it, right? So as you guys can see, we still having some pending deployment to FTD02, but FTD02 is shut down right now, so that's why it's showing here. So basically what I want to show to you guys is this the configuration of FMC, right? So the FMC itself. So this configuration will be applied only to FMC, not to the FTD itself, to the firewall itself. So let's go through. First thing first, I want to show to you guys, this is one way of control which IP address can access, or who in which network can access the FMC. So for example, in my network, you guys can see here that the management is 10.1.1, and we have routing here. So and between the FMC and these machines there is no firewall, or so I have two options. I can give an ACL on this, on the user A VLAN or user B VLAN, and block the access to FMC and permit anything else. Or we can go and come here to access list and add a rule like for SSH and for HTTPS, only the 10.1.1.0/24 will be able to it. And I will do this. So from now on, only machines which is under this subnet will be allowed to access FMC, WebUI, and also the SSH. So that's one thing, right? It will depend on your deployment. It will depend of how you're gonna work, how you're gonna block this access. But basically, this is one of the ways that we can manage who and which subnet can access the FMC. Access control preference. Let's see what we have here. Of course, I don't remember all of them by heart, but most of them when I look at it. Okay, so this one, when I look at it, I can remember what it is. So this one, every time that you do a policy change, so every time that you go to the policy and made a change, we can choose as optional or required to put a comment on it, like okay, I'm adding a new subnet, okay, I'm adding a new port. So we can use optional or required. When you do that, every time that you finish to update the ACL or create a new one, you should be able to, FMC will request you to put a comment. So I will leave it as optional, then we can see that later. So this is good for audition, because in a large environment or even in a normal environment, we want to see the comments in the rules to see what was changed. So basically that's a good thing. And the audit log is something that we need to manage, and I will show to you guys why. So for example, first we can configure a syslog server, so like 10.1.1.13, I think it's mine. So we use facility as syslog, and the severity I would say info, so any changes, and I will put FMC 01, let's say audit log as a tag, and let's see, test syslog server. Okay, syslog has been reached. So let's keep like this. The syslog server is not ready yet, and I changed the name to DevOps because we will have a lot of services running on the same server. So, but .13 will be our syslog server. I will try to put an SNMP, and will be our automation server as well. So let's save this one. Then we can check that later after we start using. And you can ask me like, okay, from which logs are you mentioned? So audit logs means what we do as administrator on FMC. So we go to system. Let me open audit here, and I will show to you. For example, right now we have only the admin logging. In the next videos, I will configure the login to the FMC using Active Directory or ISE. I will choose one of these two. But basically, for example, let's say that the admin account, which has the full power right now, and it is the only account, did some shit, deleted some rules or some things, and if you don't have a syslog configured there to send this information to a syslog server, so the guy or the person that is doing something bad, it can go here and just delete your own log. So we cannot see it. We cannot see what's happened or for what reason that's happened, because the own person deleted the audit log. So basically, using the syslog server, we can have this log detailed to check later if something goes wrong, if something's happened, and we don't know if someone did some changes. And what else we can do it? Audit log certificate, I don't remember, but let's see it what it is. Okay, is for this to communicate between the syslog server and FMC using certificates. Change reconciliation is the next one that I want to talk with you guys. Let's wait for a little bit. So change reconciliation, we will work with reports from FMC, like at least 24 hours, for example. We can send a report with all the changes that was made through email or through syslog. And as you guys can see here, not available, you must set up your email relay host first, and this will be configured here, so under the email notification. So if we enable that, we can send an email. And let's do this right now. So let's say that we want to configure the email notification first, and then we'll go through this change reconciliation again. So let's say that we have a smtp.google.com, something like this. I don't remember the correct port for that, but we are gonna use TLS, and let's say that we want to use the FMC 01 at securitylab.com accounts, and using admin and password. So we need to have a SMTP server to relay this information to you. So we have to configure the SMTP here, we'll send the relay to you, and then you can see it. And this is the option that we have. I will save it. This is not gonna work because I don't have a relay host on this network, but let's see it. Let's save this one and go back to change reconciliation. And we have a couple of others to see here. So let's say that we have email like infra@securitylab.com, and we're gonna send any policy configuration or show full change history. So any history during FMC will be sent here. We're gonna enable at each 24 hours, 23, 50 hours. So every time at each 24, 23 and 50 hours, we'll see this email will receive a report regarding the policy configuration, the full change history, and that's it. Let's save this one. We can use this as a good practice, like if you wanna to know what is being changed. But in a large environment, like an environment with dozens or hundreds of devices, you have a lot of change, so we need to go through this email. So if we have enough time to go through this email, I think it will be good, but will depend of the environment. I'm just showing the options here. So DNS cache, I think I always leave the default. There's nothing to change here. Yeah, just the DNS resolution cache is enabled, and the timeout is 300 in minutes. 300 minutes. Let's go to the dashboard. So if you go to the dashboard, the default dashboard of FMC, we can use like widgets to configure new dashboards, and this is just to enable custom analyze widgets. I always leave this the default. The database, there is something that I learned from Todd Lumley. I think you guys know him. He writes some of the books of FTD. So this is the connection database, and he says, of course, that he said that depends on the environment, depends on how much devices you have or connections, but it's like let's say a good practice should just allow 10 millions of connection to keep on this database. So this database is when you go to analysis and check this. Email notification, we already checked it. HTTPS certificate, we did a few videos ago, because is where we change, right? Is where we change the HTTPS certificate, this certificate here. So we generate a CSR, we sign in the CA, and go back and update this certificate here. So let's keep this, just 10 here, 10 millions of connection, the maximum of connection. And this goes under here, analysis, like I want to connection events. So 10 millions of events will be stored here. That's the information that we have there. So it was 1 million, now we have 10. As you guys can see here, I have a lot of traffic coming from 10.1.10, going to the internet, going to .11, and 1.10, which is my Active Directory server DNS, going to Google on the DNS ports. So let's figure out what else we have here. Information is the default one. It's just show the version, system version, the IP address, which health policy we are using, and if you have a serial number, which shows here also. So what we have as next will be the language. I think it's pretty straightforward. We have English and some Japanese or Chinese language, if I remember correctly. Yeah, English and some Japanese and Chinese. Process, I don't change anything. So SNMP is something very important because we want to configure that SNMP server came to here, and we want to configure, like, for example, version 2, and community string will be FMC01, and we want to configure SNMP, right, like this. But there is one trick that most of the guys, and I already did that with FXOS, for example. I configured the SNMP, and I forget that there is an access list here, like we did before. To access HTTP and SSH, we need to allow also SNMP. So I will say that SNMP is the protocol, and I use the same IP address with .13 and add it. So right now, this server will be able to reach on this port on this FMC. Login banner, you guys know, it's just a login banner, like okay, if you are not allowed to access this, don't access, just close your browser, something like this. So I will say this is the security lab FMC 01, just this. And one thing, the guys, we will only see this login banner when we log in, right? So at the first login, we'll see, just click OK, and that's it. Under the management interface, there is for the virtual machines like this one, there is nothing so much to do. But when you have a physical appliance, we can use, like for example, oh, this one already have it. For example, I can say that this interface here, it's only for, just 1 minute, only for management. So it is enabled, and it's for the management traffic and also the event traffic. So I can select other one here, like ETH1, and say that this will be the event traffic. And also, if for the virtual ones, I don't remember, but for sure for the physical ones, you can select, we can bound these 2 ports in an interchannel and say, let's 2 ports for the management traffic, 2 ports for the event traffic. Of course, we will always depend of the size of your deployment. What else we have? SNMP, time synchronization, I think it's good enough. We configured that on the beginning of the installation, right? So we configured the NTP as this guy here, so 10.1.1.4, and this will be used where when we are going to configure the platform settings, which is the configuration dedicated to the Cisco Secure Firewall or the FTD. So we'll say to the FTD, hey, sync up the NTP with the FMC. So that's because that's needed. So FMC will sync up with the NTP, and the FTD, the sensors, will be synchronized with the FMC. REST API preference, if I'm not wrong, I always leave the default, which will allow us to connect using REST API, right? So pretty straightforward. Process, login banner, this one I never changed it, I always leave it at default. The session timeout is just how long it will take to disconnect you when you're connected to the FMC on CLI or on the GUI. So CLI it's 0, like this, and so I will never be disconnected automatically. but browser session, it's say 60 minutes. I would change it for 10 just to change, but most of the times we always leave as default. I think I worked in one company that for security reasons it was something like 5 minutes or 3 minutes, I don't remember correctly, but it was pretty quickly. So if you don't change anything, if you're just logging and keep waiting in 1, 2, or 3 minutes, I don't remember, you will be disconnected from the browser session. But CLI, it's always 0. At least I never used it as CLI. Let's change this right now. So let's put 2 minutes. Let's put 2 minutes to the CLI time. Intrusion policy preference. Let me see what we have here. Oh, it's same thing as the access control preference. So every time that we need to change something in the policy, so we will tuning our policy with a specific rule for the IPS rule. So we can put this information like optional, a comment, or required. And I think for the configuration of FTD or FMC, we are good. That's a basic stuff that we can change, like a tune-up if you need it, for example. So let me go to policy. It's policy alerts, and that's why we just configured the SMTP relay first, because, for example, if you want some kind of alerts, we need an SMTP server and we need to create some kinds of alerts. And this one will need the SNMP, the syslog, and the email relay for that. So basically, let me create some alerts, some email alert here. So it's gonna use the smtp.google.com, right? So I will say FMC01. This one is email alert, and will be from FMC01 at securitylab.com to infra at securitylab.com, and I'm gonna save that. Oh, there was a hyphen there. And why I'm putting this email here, because when you're gonna select here to send this, they are not saying if this FMC01, for example, is an email, a syslog, or a SNMP alert. So that's why I'm putting the name here. So I will create another one. So FMC01, I'll say SNMP. I could put alert. The trap server will be, let's say, I would like to use V2. The community will be FMC01, same as used before, and the trap server 10.1.1.13, right? So we're gonna save it, and then we can change that later. And now we're gonna use a syslog alert. So same thing, FMC01 syslog alert, the host will be the same, .13. I will say that this is a syslog and I want only warnings. So, and the tag will be FMC01. So now that we created the alerts, all of them we use the email to send it. One email, one SNMP, and also the syslog. We'll go through where we can configure this. So basically we have these 3 kinds of alerts, and we're gonna, for example, for the impact flags. So when we have an IPS alert, do we wanna send this as a syslog or an email? How do we wanna receive this information from the FMC? So let's say that from the impact, for the syslog server, I wanna send only the vulnerable and potential vulnerable, and for email I wanna send the unknown targets, and through the SNMP server I'm gonna send only the current not vulnerable. So basically we select what kind of information, what kind of flag that is being triggered, and we send this to syslog, email server, or email or SNMP. Basically that's it. Now we go to the discover event alert. So every time the discover, we'll talk about that later. But the discover part, it's like a nmap. We can use some networks to identify like the MAC address, the IP address, the version of the Windows, the Mac, and some of other good information. So we can do the same thing. And something that Todd Lumley, that I would say that I learned from him. So if you have some free time to take a look at your email every time and got all of these kind of logs, because it's a lot logs. So like for example, oh, a new OS arrived, a new network protocol was identified, MAC information has changed. So we can configure, for example, for the syslog, we can send all of this. For the email, it will all depend of what do you want to check or when do you want to check. If you have like a dedicated team for check the syslog and make correlations with Splunk or other software, we can also do this with Splunk under the integrations. But I think this is another way to show to have the same information. So I would say that for the email notification, I wanna every time that add a scan result, only this one. And for the SNMP, I just wanna let's say the vulnerability impact qualification, and if the host is critically. I think that's it. So basically we are saying to the FMC what kind of information and from where it should send it. That's it. But there is a lot of information, so we need to take care, because for example, if I send everything this through email, you will receive a big email with a lot of information, and maybe this information is unuseful to you. So it will always depends of what kind of information do you want. So I will not go through details here, but basically it is pretty straightforward. As you guys can see, there is the information that you want, how you want to receive it, and that's it. So for the AMP, Advanced Malware Protection, so if we integrate Cisco Firepower Management Center with the AMP clouds, we can get more information regarding using syslog, using the email, and also using SNMP. So same thing. So retrospective events, all network based malware events. So I want to receive, for example, all the malware events through email, retrospective events syslog, and also SNMP, and I will save that. So the change saved successfully. And for the intrusion email, like IPS, intrusion prevention, we have the same thing, same process with a lot of information, and we need to choose how we can receive this one. So email alert, like let's say FMC01 at securitylab.com, to address infra at securitylab.com. Qualys alerts and summary output. Let's say that I want a summary. So every time that there is a alert or something that triggers some of my IPS policy, I just want a summary of this one. And let's save it. So now we have our alerts. We have the basic configuration, like we did a tune-up. Simple test, right? Simple things we changed. Normally, we need to we need to really go through it and understand how is the size of the deployment, what the client wants, why the client needed to check here and go to the configuration and increase the number of connection events and select the access list that will be allowed to access or not, and change the, if every time that I change a rule I need to put a comment or not. So that's what I want to show to you guys on this class. Basic thing, not so deep, I would say, but there is some good information. And so great guys, God bless you, talk to you soon, bye bye.